Welcome, everybody, to the first of the new year, first of 2023 stream of A Flawed Man of God. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. Not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of topics that we see in the world today, and give you the perspective of somebody who has been a Christian all their life and kind of how that influences my opinion of what I see. Like I said, Christian all my life, 39 years, non denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the word every day, trying to do it better. And some days I do, some days I don't. So, if you are somebody who is not a Christian, but you're interested in learning more about the faith, learning more about Jesus, if there's something in the back of your head kind of bothering you about if there's more, is there more to life than just what we experience on this earth, in this life? Is there more to your existence than that? Then welcome to the show. Hope you get something out of this. Hopefully, you were able to um, find something in this that springboards you into a relationship with Christ and that starts you along a path that will lead to your salvation. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions and being part of that, welcome as well. We've got a great chat. Love for you to join. And we run it very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school small group of folks coming in, regulars. We want you to be part of that. Give us your opinions. Give us the insights that you have. Give us some sort of life experience that you can use to relate to it. All sorts of things. Anything. We are very interested in hearing what you have to say. I'm very interested in hearing what the rest of our chat has to say. They're good group of mostly dudes, mostly dudes, in here, and I think you'll find it very fulfilling. So, without further ado, I did start the show with no warning because I was busy watching college football. Dude, like I don't watch the NFL so much anymore because with all the politics and drama in in the NFL now these days, it's just taken away a lot of my escapism. It's just too much of that going on. But college football, so good. So good. I'm a Notre Dame fan. If y'all didn't know, right back there, there's a pennant right over there. Huge Notre Dame fan. Very good weekend for me. I did enjoy watching Notre Dame trounce South Carolina. I enjoyed watching some very good bowl games. We had let's see, we had TCU, Texas Christian University, beat Michigan, which was a fun game to watch. But the real pleasure was watching Ohio State go down. I thought they were going to win. First off, I didn't think they belonged in the playoff, but they made it anyway, unfortunately. And I thought they were going to beat Georgia. Wasn't in the cards. Wasn't in the cards. And so I was greatly pleased by that. Then I got to watch the USC Tulane game, and Tulane came back at the end, pulled out a win, and that was great. Hold on a second. All right. Sorry. I had to see to something and send my little guy down off to bed. Off to bed with him. He had a blast. I was up in Philadelphia this weekend. That's where I was at. That's where I was enjoying things, and I drove back last night. It's so great having a route that doesn't include Interstate 95 to get through, where it's nice and quiet, and the kids can sleep, and there's no traffic or drama. You just quietly drive through the night. Anyway, so the big S, what does it mean? The big S is for Stewart. It's for Summit. So we've got people here. 95 is 95 is a plague, is what it is. 95 is absolutely a plague. Welcome to the Chatner Nath, Alias, Dresden. Glad to have you guys in here. Glad you guys could show up. I know I'm going to hear it from Nico that I didn't put a that I didn't put a preview up. That's on me. Like I said, I was watching sports. I had the day off, and look, here's the thing. All right, this is what I've learned about, for the most part, generally on 95. It's not that bad of a drive on 95, at least from Philadelphia into DC, or even out of DC, really. But once you hit the state line of Virginia, 95 is a parking lot from the state line all the way to just south of Fredericksburg. And it is annoying. It is always like that. And it is never an accident. It's never a broken down vehicle. It's never road work or construction. There's nothing. And it drives me insane. It drives me insane. And I think because of that, I use Waze for my GPS. I think Waze will oftentimes say it's faster. Even using the Waze calculation, me driving down alternate route, starting in Delaware, I get on 95 and then I get off in Delaware. But I would have only been 20 minutes longer. So, and like I said, for about 50 miles, it felt like it was almost 50 miles. I was like the only vehicle on the road going my direction. And that's nice. Like I said, it's quiet. You don't have to worry about insane drivers. Maryland drivers, they're awful. They're awful. Maryland drivers, they're either going way too slow or way too fast. Philly and New Jersey, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, they're always on your tail. And they're always like getting right behind you and then changing lanes at the last minute. So, like I said, I just enjoy it. I just enjoy it. So, had the kids turn the DVD players off at around 8 o'clock, and then they were out like a light. And then it was me listening to, my wife was reading in the passenger seat, and me listening to Tex Talks Battletech for about 3 hours. Maybe not even that long. Maybe like 2.5 hours. That's not the whole ride, but that's once the kids went to sleep. I was listening to Tex Talks Battletech, which is great. If you are a Battletech fan at all, I can't believe you probably don't listen to him. He does absolutely amazing lore discussions. Look him up on YouTube. Highly recommend him. His content is great. Tex Talks Battletech is on Black Pants Legion. That's the channel. He's part of that group, and he's got a great voice. He's got a great delivery, great sense of humor. I know it's all edited, but that adds that you get a quality product out of that. And then if you don't know anything about Battletech, dude, it's good. It's good. They're starting to get some momentum on them. Not quite as deep as Warhammer, but the universe is pretty solid. And he's, like I said, he does a great job. I'm a BattleTech fan. I've been playing Mech Warrior since I was in middle school. I play BattleTech occasionally on the computer still. I would love this. I need to get back into, see if I can get back into Mech Warrior. I think that he would do a great job. I think he would do a great job if he broke down Tolkien lore. Like if he took the Silmarillion and just explained it in American, in American idioms, it would be great. I think it would be great. So that was most of my weekend, spending it with family. I enjoyed a lot of it. Played laser tag with my kids. Played laser tag with my niece and my brother. Went out, ate great, because Philadelphia is a great place to eat. The food is awesome. Philly cheesesteaks and buffalo fries. So, all right, so we're going to start a new chapter, and we're in a new book, which really is going to be a new part of kind of a new era for Israel. So if we go back to Genesis, we see the establishment of the covenant, the roots, right? The origin story of Israel. It's Abraham and God saying, "Look, I'm going to I'm going to start my line, or my chosen tribe with you." Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has Jacob. Jacob has Joseph. Joseph ends up in Egypt. Ends up kind of running Egypt for all intents and purposes. Joseph dies. The Israelites end up in slavery. Moses comes along, as per prophecy. Moses comes along, delivers them. God delivers them, using Moses as basically the vehicle for that. Sends them into the Exodus. Israelites start screwing around. They get punished. They screw around some more, get punished, screw around some more, get basically banished for 40 years to wander in in the wilderness. Then finally, with Joshua, they come to the promised land. They start conquering the ites, the Canaanites, and the Hivites and the Jebusites and the everybody else. They don't get rid of everybody they're supposed to. Don't get rid of everybody that they're supposed to, but they do a pretty decent job. And they end up, that generation ends up solid. And then after that generation's dead, they start to screw around again. Then you have the time of the judges, basically. You can call it, maybe Joshua's the first judge. I don't know. However you want to put it. At the time of the judges, where the Israelites screw around, God stops protecting them. They end up in a bad place. They pray to God. God lifts up a judge for them and leads them into prosperity. And this is a cycle that continues until Samuel. Samuel is the last judge. When Samuel is getting old, the people demand a king. For no other reason than Samuel's kids were corrupt, which is no different from anything that they've been running into. So they said, well, we need a king. Like all the other people, God, that you don't like, that you don't particularly care for, all those other cultures, we need a king like them. And God's like, you don't want one. Let me count the ways. They don't care. So he gives them Saul. Saul, as I've described it, is pretty much a good example of what the normal person probably would happen with the normal person. Scene's a little big for them. They're a little modest about it. They take control. The power the weight of responsibility, everything just gets to be too much for them. And they just fall right into it. They fall right into it. Saul does that. In my opinion, Saul lets his mistakes rule him, and he gives up trying to do the right thing. He gives up giving glory to God. He gives up leaning on God for help, leaning on God and honoring God, wanting to honor God. He just gives up on all of it. So next up is David. David's great. David's doing great things. David's is not perfect. David is not perfect. He does mess up, and there are some repercussions for that. And that's pretty much, we've been wrapping up the repercussions. Well, most of the repercussions. They're not all over yet. But David's rule pretty much is at the end of 2 Samuel. There's been a lot to cover. It's been great going through it. And now with David basically at the end of his life, we're going to start a new chapter, which is the kings that follow in the wake of David. And you would think David, for the most part, having his act together, not completely, but for the most part, having his act together, that there would be some sort of succession plan. And maybe there is. But is everybody going to listen to it? Come on, guys. This is the Israelites we're talking about. So let me get into the chats real quick, and then we'll start with First Kings. Nernaeth, that's a New York influence. We call going from the left lane direct to an exit the Jersey slide. That's not so much, like, I see that a lot. But the one I taught, it irritates the snot out of me because it's not a safe maneuver. I generally go 8-9 over the speed limit. That's where I'm normally at. Sometimes I'm 14 over. But when I'm going down the interstate, it's basically 8-9 miles an hour over the speed limit. And generally that's just keeping up with traffic. And I don't hang out in the passing lane unless I'm passing people. But if I'm in the middle lanes and some dude comes barreling up behind me and gets right toward, like, 5 feet from my bumper and then does their lane change and they just slide over, you're just asking for an accident. You're just asking for an accident. It's a dangerous thing. And I don't like doing it when I've got 2 kids in the back. That's the one that bothers me the most. Or if I'm in the middle of passing like a tractor trailer and I'm going much fast, I'm going over the speed limit, many miles per hour over the speed limit as I'm passing a tractor trailer, and you're right up on my tail. Like, it's just like, dude, I'm gonna get over as soon as I'm done passing. The only reason I'm in the passing lane is because I'm passing people. I'm a big person on road manners. You use your signal. You let people in when you can. You just have good manners. So all right. Parachin Baca, new name, new face. Thank you for your ministry, brother. I tried a Philly cheesesteak for the first time this year, and I'll never forget that taste. And when you say this year, do you mean 2023? 100%. Look, first off, welcome to the show, or welcome to the chat. I don't know how long you've been tuning in, but however you got here, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hope you stick around. 2, Philly cheesesteak. So when my brother first moved up there, we would visit. And obviously one of the things I wanted to try was cheesesteak. Now, we didn't go to Pat or Gino's because my brother, he married a Philadelphia native, and they all the places. Pat and Gino's, that's the tourist trap places. They're not the best places. Everybody locally's got their own best place. The place we used to go to was actually not that far from Jersey, it was off of Franklin Street, I think. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, the name was Chinks. The name of the place was Chinks, and it was solid. It was solid. That's where I got my first cheesesteak. And so when I order it like a Southerner, right? I'll get a Philly cheesesteak. I want lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, and peppers. And it was like one of the old West movies where everybody shuts up because somebody said something dumb or offensive, out of place. I felt like the whole restaurant, the whole diner was looking at me, and the waitress is like, "Excuse me," and my brother's now wife, she's like, "That's not a cheesesteak. That's not a cheesesteak." She goes, "It's just steak, cheese, onions, maybe, peppers, maybe." And so I said, "Oh, okay, I'll have that." So from there, the next time we came in, and I loved it. I loved it. It was really good. So next time we go up there, I'm going to order one. And my brother goes, "You need to try this with cheese whiz." And I said, "That's disgusting." I said, "I am not putting cheese whiz on a sandwich. That is gross. It's awful." He goes, "Trust me on this. You're going to like it." I said, "Because it's you, because you're my brother and I love you and you've never steered me wrong on opinions, like on taste." I said, I'll try it. So I ordered it with whiz. I like onions, like cheese, or I got like steak, whiz, onions. And it came out. It's the only way I eat it now. Only way to eat it now. So, and I get 2 or 3 every time we go up there. 2 or 3 every time. So, and so I'll skip some of these chats. I'll go back up to them because we're talking about cheesesteaks. Pat and Gino, overhyped. Yes. Parachute. I'm going to try the cheesesteak in 2022. Tee or hee. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I figured. Franklin has a lot of places. This used to be called Chinks. Now it's called Joe's because Chinks is apparently an offensive name. It was the founder's nickname. He wasn't Asian. It didn't have anything to do with anything. And now it's Joe's. And it's just, and we would still go there, but it's just my brother's moved away from there. He's still in the Philadelphia area, but it's just further to go to. So right now we go to the Steak and Cheese Factory. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, but yeah, Franklin has a lot of food places. It does. That was our spot. We would always go there. Parachin said, yes, I had it at a mom and pop sandwich store, obscure but gold. And you can, and I know from some people who are from the Philadelphia region, Delaware Valley is also very good. Also has very good cheesesteaks. I was wondering where you got lettuce from. Yeah, I am a Southerner at heart. I like a good, like, where I live is in Hanover County. We have world famous tomatoes. I mean, we grow tomatoes as big as my hand. I mean, they are so big that they're actually like just breaking out of the skin. They are good. It's just what we're known for. And I like a good tomato sandwich, just tomato BLT, or just a regular tomato sandwich. Tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, salt and pepper. It's good stuff. Nernaeth, the bread has to be right for it. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. It said, bro, it's unhealthy, but I had it with cheese whiz too. So delicious. It's my go-to. Actually, my favorite place down there was a chain restaurant called Wit or Wit Out. And I think they've closed up, or they've significantly contracted the amount of stores they have. And I don't ever see them, so I don't ever go there. But yeah, I usually never fails. There's usually a couple places that make them really good. We've got a place close to where he lives that makes them really good, and I think that's my new go-to because we've gone there the past couple of times. Oh man, I miss cheesesteaks already. I love eating in Philadelphia. There are cities that are unknown that are known for their food. Philadelphia is the best. Cities that are not known as well for their food. Um, Richmond, Virginia, actually is very good. As much as I eat in different cities, Richmond has always had a really good dining scene, I think. And Detroit, actually, best pizza. Some of the best pizza. I like New York style. Detroit style pizza is different. It's basically what Chicago style pizza wants everyone to think it is. Chicago style pizza is not pizza. It's a casserole, number one. Two, it's ridiculously deep and silly. So it's ridiculously deep. And Detroit is not as deep. Think Little Caesars as cheap Detroit pizza. The best pizza, some of the best pizza I've eaten has been in Detroit. I make them myself, the steakums, and at home across the country. Yeah, it's steakums. You need the right bread, which it'll never be good enough because the bread will never be right. But my wife makes we do homemade cheesesteaks. My wife does a great job putting them together, and it's never as good, but it's good enough. It's good enough to tide me over. And she's listening. She's Caleb's late. You're here though. We haven't started really. We're talking as my wife is picking on me right now on the Facebook feed. She's seriously a 15-minute monologue on cheesesteaks. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. I've got the chat up. We're all talking about it. But I know that Nernaeth was in the region this weekend. So I know that he has opinions. as I do. So, all right. With that said, that's a good it's a good nudge to say, hey, why don't you start talking about what you're supposed to talk about? So, like I said, oh wait, I need to go back up and address the other things that were said before we got off on our cheesecake or a cheesesteak, almost cheesecake. Anyway, then they built badger skin covered tabernacle. He picks up on the oddest things. Peru, yep, the eternal cycle of unfaithfulness, suffering, repentance, reconciliation / victory, and the cycle starts again. I didn't realize Saul was the prototype of a servant / commoner becomes king. I mean, that's my take. I think it's I think that if we're being honest with ourselves, like there might be some things about Saul that we don't relate to. But I think if you look at it the best, and perhaps this was what God was trying to illustrate, which I think would be very sensible, is you want a king. You have a king in me. I am an all-powerful, I'm an all-powerful deity, the preeminent deity. There are everything else is fake or a demon or one of my angels, which shouldn't be portraying themselves as a deity. I am the man. I am the man. I'm the chief, or said say. I'm the chief. You don't need a man king to lead you. You just need me. And I will appoint some people who can speak for me as I need them, whether it be a prophet, whether it be a judge, whomever. Maybe it's a donkey. But no matter what, you don't need a king in place of that. It's just an extra layer of bureaucracy. But since you demand it, I'm going to show you, since you all think y'all can do this job. That's probably what it is, because that's what we all do. We all think we can do a better job. We're all armchair quarterbacks. We're all Monday morning Christians. We're Sunday morning Christians. What I think that's what Saul represents when we look at how he reacts to things. It's a man where the role is bigger than he is. He can't rise up to the task. Where David And we see it from the beginning with David. David absolutely can. David absolutely can. All right. Nernath. Cooked before university, had many dates just for decent food back then, I am sure. Yeah, I can't cook. I wish I can. It's just not something I've been able to get around and master. It helps me continue to be lazy that my wife is an amazing cook, so it doesn't encourage me because I get fed well. But it is. Impero. I am the man. Look at me. I am the captain now and forever. Beginning now, forever, past, present, future. But now David's at the end of his line. So let's find out what goes on. Right. And what we're going to see in Kings, for the most part, is exactly the kind of things that God was warning the people, the Israelites, about when Samuel came to him with the request. And as bad as we've seen Saul act, we're going to see worse. Flawed. This is really important analysis because when the Bible describes events without giving any commands, I struggle to understand what to derive from it as a Christian. Yeah. I think that's why it's important. Look, guests on my show, Bible Bash, they do a challenge, which I think is great, which is read the Bible in a month, which is a huge undertaking, right? You've really got to invest time in it in a short amount of time, and you're just rolling through it. But what I like, and I think that it's good that people do it, and I've done it before, not in a month, but I've read through the Bible just right through. What I have come to love about this, and I started thinking about this before I did the show, was when I was going through this in Sunday school, when we were going through the entire Old Testament with the middle schoolers that I was teaching. I was like, we don't have enough time with an hour of Sunday school once a week to really get into things. It would be great if we could just talk about things one chapter or two chapters at a time and really go over it and really think about it. And I haven't done that. So when I'm going through this, I'm like I said, this is how I sell myself. I am a layperson. I haven't taken any classes. I haven't read early church fathers. I don't have any of that information inside of my head. What I do have, I think, is a pretty decent fundamental understanding of what the Bible is all about. And so when we go through here, it's interesting to read and how much, even when right now we're most of this, and this is what you're talking about when the Bible prescribes events without giving commands, we can kind of see, even though there's no commands in there, we can kind of see what went right and what went wrong because we're reading through it. And I think the fact that that stuff is in there is not just to convey the history, not just convey the history of the Israelites and the prophecy coming towards Christ, but it's also kind of to give these life lessons in here. Perichin Baca. Saul at least tried to do what David did, humble himself enough to put all his faith in God, even through disaster. The next kings just imitated the world. Yeah, I think Saul couldn't get out of his own way. And we say that again. Saul can't get out of his own way. There are other kings that just don't care. I'm in charge. I'm going to do what I want. I've got this role. I've taken it either by force or whatever. There we go. And yeah, I think that's different. I think Saul at the beginning is, just a decent guy. He's kind of the everyman. He's got some good looks. He's kind of a jock, but an affable one. He's popular, but he gets in this role and he's just scared. He's scared. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to do it. He does some things right, but not a whole lot. There we go. And that's why I think Saul's the good diet. This is how you would be, and David is if I had my choice in king, and everybody else is what you actually get, which is political. Everything in Kings almost is the political class, right? Folks who are there, they think nothing of the people that they're ruling over. Nothing. I'm here. I'm important. You're not. I'm going to do what I want. I don't really care about God because I do what I want, right? Because he's not calling the shots. I am, because y'all gave me the power. That extra layer of bureaucracy you put in that society that God didn't put there on purpose, all of a sudden now it only answers to itself in its own mind. And the people can't do anything about it. Only God can. So that's how we're going to end up going into First and Second Kings and First and Second Chronicles. And with that said, and with all that, well, last thing. Actually, that's kind of a reminder for me. I have to remember higher priorities than being a friend to the world. It's okay to be a friend of the world in some aspect. Just the world doesn't belong to you, and you don't belong to the world. You belong to God. And that's who you ultimately answer for. And the world is basically our pond that we're fishing in. The fishers of men, right? That Christ talks about when he's talking to the disciples. That's the invite. Let me share my screen. All right, and without further ado, let's get into 1 Kings 1. It wastes no time. Adonijah sets himself up as king. There we go. When King David was very old, he could not keep warm, even when they put covers over him. Oh yeah, yeah. That's an old people thing. Let's look. Sometimes the Bible does this, and I don't know if it's trying to be funny or endearing, but it just is. Yeah, we know that's an old people thing. Look, he can't keep warm anymore. My wife used to have an employee who kept the office at 90 degrees. I'm going to pop that up there. I'm just going to leave that up there, Perjin, because I think it's good to keep as a reminder. Anyway. So his attendant said to him, "Let us look for a young virgin to serve the king and to take care of him. She can lie beside him so that our lord, the king, may keep warm." Look, if there's one thing David doesn't need any more of, it's women. He's had enough issues. Anyway, then they searched throughout Israel for a beautiful young woman and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. The woman was very beautiful. She took care of the king and waited on him, but the king had no sexual relations with her. Yeah, he's old. Look, he's old. Now Adonijah, whose mother was Haggith, put himself forward and said, "I will be king." So he got chariots and horses ready with 50 men to run ahead of him. Because apparently, this is the peacocking. This is the showing off. This is the posturing. I need chariots. I need people. I need 50 men in running ahead of me. This is it'd be interesting to see how this plays in real life, because reading about it thousands of years later, it's ridiculous. But we got chariots and horses ready with 50 men to run ahead of him. His father had never rebuked him by asking, "Why do you behave as you do?" He was also very handsome and was born next after Absalom, who is dead. So so by birth, he's in line, and his dad hasn't said anything about it. Be like, but he's too busy, probably just being cold and old, right? He's not paying attention. I don't know. David's problem with his kids was foretold by God as a result of his mistakes. But he's not the first person to have this problem. Aaron had this problem. Samuel had this problem. I'm trying to remember Samuel's mentor. He had that problem. This is going to continue. A lot of times, I wonder how much the kids not living up to their father's righteousness, and in fact, oftentimes running in the opposite direction, has to do with the fact that they weren't paying attention to him. Eli, thank you, Nernath. I knew you would come in with the answer. Thank you. Adonijah conferred with Joab, our favorite person, Nernath. He conferred with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the priest, and they gave him their support. But Zadok the priest, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, Nathan the prophet, Shimei, and Ray, and David's special guard did not join Adonijah. The one I point to the most, the one that I think the most is probably the most important here, is Nathan. Nathan was the guy who rebuked David. He did it from the mouth of God. Thug general. Joab, thug general. No limit soldier. Adonijah then sacrificed sheep, cattle, and fattened calves at the stone of Zehoaleth near Enrogel. He invited all his brothers, the king's sons. Wouldn't that be the king's sons? And all the royal officials of Judah. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benaiah, or the special guard, or his brother Solomon. And this is the interesting part. Joab, Abiathar, kind of ambivalent on. He's done some good things, but he hasn't been, he's not Nathan, but he's the priest, right? Joab is a strong person to have on your side from a manpower standpoint. Like, he's a great general, and he is not afraid to get blood on his hands. He is an incredibly useful resource. Nathan's your telltale here. And he doesn't invite Solomon, which tells me at this point, just reading it, that he knows who Nathan is supporting and who the other guys are supporting, and who David's probably going to appoint. There's probably a plan in place, right? So he does this big sacrifice. He invites, it's a big royal to do. He's got all of his family there. Doesn't include one. Underneath court politics, with all the people there at the sacrifice, it was basically an oath of fealty to show up. Parachin said, I think Nathan or his son got included in the genealogy of Jesus' parents too. Can't remember that, but I know we'll definitely get into it in Matthew. And it shows who he invites, but it doesn't. We haven't heard yet who shows up. Then Nathan asked Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, have you not heard that Adonijah, the son of Haggith, has become king, and our Lord David knows nothing about it? Now then, let me advise you how you can save your own life and the life of your son Solomon. Go in to King David and say to him, my lord the king, did you not swear to me, your servants, surely Solomon your son shall be king after me, and he will sit on my throne? Why then has Adonijah become king? Why are you still there talking to the king? I will while you are still there talking to the king, I will come in and add my word to what you have said. Now, it doesn't say that this information came from, like, these instructions came from God. But I think we're getting a sense that if they didn't, Nathan's doing a pretty good job interpreting what God's will. So Bathsheba went to see the aged king in his room, where Abishag the Shunammite was attending him. Bathsheba bowed down, prostrating herself before the king. What is it you want? The king asked. She said to him, My lord, you yourself swore to me, your servant, by the Lord your God, Solomon your son shall be king after me, and he will sit on my throne. But now Adonijah has become king, and you, my lord, the king, do not know about it. He has sacrificed great numbers of cattle, fattened calves, and sheep, and has invited all the king's sons, Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of the army. But he has not invited Solomon your servant. My lord the king, the eyes of all Israel are on you, to learn from you who will sit on the throne of my lord the king after him. Otherwise, as soon as my lord the king is laid to rest with his ancestors, I and my son Solomon will be treated as criminals. While she was still speaking with the king, Nathan the prophet arrived. And the king was told, Nathan the prophet is here. So he went before the king and bowed with his face on the ground. Now, my impression is David's got a lot of respect, a tremendous amount of respect for Nathan. Nathan came, like we said, Nathan came on behalf of God and rebuked David. And David immediately called repentance for that. Nathan said, Have you, my lord the king, declared that Adonijah shall be the king after you, and that he will sit on your throne? Today he has gone down and sacrificed a great number of cattle, fattened calves, and sheep. He has invited all the king's sons, the commander of the army, and Abiathar the priest. Right now they are eating and drinking with him and saying, Long live King Adonijah. But me, your servant, and Zadok the priest, and Benaiah son of that guy, and your servant Solomon, he did not invite. Is this something my lord the king has done without letting his servants know who should sit on the throne of my lord the king after him? Nernaeth says, Joab respects and wields military power. Yeah, Joab's very much the might is right guy. That is why he's stuck with David and is picking sides. Plus, he knows that David's family is mad at him for swacking Absalom. Forgot that little detail. Bathsheba is trying to save her seed and position that the other women's sons may try to eliminate. The core intrigue is real. Yes. But I think it's also important to note here that she's... I guess maybe then I might be making assumptions. The assumption is because she's Solomon's mom, that, everything she's doing is above board. Maybe it's not. But what Bathsheba does have is God's plan on her side. David makes Solomon king. There we go. Then King David said, Call in Bathsheba. So she came into the king's presence and stood before him. The king then took an oath. As surely as the Lord lives, who has delivered me out of every trouble, I will surely carry out this very day what I swore to you by the Lord, the God of Israel. Solomon, your son, shall be king after me, and he will sit on my throne in my place. Then Bathsheba bowed down with her face to the ground, prostrating herself before the king, and said, May my lord the king David live forever. King David said, Call in Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah son of Jehoiada. When they came before the king, he said to them, Take your lord's servants with you, and have Solomon my son mount my own mule, and take him down to Gihon. There have Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him king over Israel. Blow the trumpet and shout, Long live King Solomon. Then you are to go up with him, and he is to come and sit on my throne and reign in my place. I have appointed him ruler over Israel and Judah. Now, go give me my blanket. I'm cold. The thing also to remember here is Bathsheba takes part in David's sin, but we really don't see anything bad about or negative about her either. But we do see is Adonijah making assumptions. Now, culturally, he's right, but here's a good thing. Here's something that might be interesting to note. As many wives and kids as David has, it's still a small court. And everybody knows everything. It's like a small town. There's no secrets. Everybody knows Solomon's supposed to be king. And Adonijah probably doesn't like it, but he's taking this is my viewpoint. What I'm seeing here is Adonijah knows, but he also knows his dad is old and weary and cold and not paying attention as much. So maybe I'll just do the same thing my brother did, is make myself super popular. I'm very good looking. I'm very, people like me, or I can make people think that they're supposed to like me. And I've got this powerful army and all the stuff, all the posturing, and I'll fake it till I make it. But at the same time, no secrets, right? And that's why Bathsheba and Nathan and them, they know Nathan's the important piece of the puzzle here, I think. Because he's probably been told by God even before all this started, the throne belongs to Solomon after David. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, answered the king, Amen. May the Lord, the God of my king, Amen. May the Lord, the God of my Lord the king, so declare it. As the Lord was with my Lord the king, so he may be with Solomon, to make his throne even greater than the throne of my king David. So Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, the Kerethites and the Pelethites went down and had Solomon mount King David's mule, and they escorted him to Gihon. Zadok the priest took the horn of oil from the sacred tent and anointed Solomon. Then they sounded the trumpet, and all the people shouted, Long live King Solomon! And all the people went up after him, playing pipes and rejoicing greatly, so that the ground shook with the sound. There we go. Now, we're going to nip this in the bud. We'll just anoint Saul right now. Or we'll just anoint Saul. Sorry. We'll just anoint Solomon right now. That'll end all the controversy. We'll see. So while all this is going on, right, Adonijah and all the guests who were with him heard it as they were finishing their feast. On hearing the sound of the trumpet, Joab asked, What is the meaning of all this noise in the city? Which is, look, David's old. Joab's got to be old at this point too, right? What is the meaning of all this noise? Even as he was speaking, Jonathan, son of Abiathar the priest, arrived. Adonijah said, Come in. A worthy man like you must be bringing good news. It is. But Jonathan's going to say, Not at all, Jonathan answered. Our Lord King David has made Solomon king. The king has sent with him Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and they have put him on the king's mule. And Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet have anointed him king at Gihon. From there they have gone up cheering, and the city resounds with it. That's the noise you hear. Moreover, Solomon has taken his seat on the royal throne. Also, the royal officials have come to congratulate our Lord King David, saying, May your God make Solomon's name more famous than yours, and his throne greater than yours. And the king bowed in worship on his bed and said, Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who has allowed my eyes to see a successor on my throne today. Ooh, open and shut case. Boom. It's all been done. Sorry, you've been here having your feast, drinking your wine, having a great time. Solomon's been getting it done. And he's sitting on the throne now. At this, all Adonijah's guests rose in alarm and dispersed, which is probably pretty funny. There's probably a raucous crowd. But Adonijah, in fear of Solomon, went and took hold of the horns of the altar. Then Solomon was told, Adonijah is afraid of King Solomon and is clinging to the horns of the altar. He says, let King Solomon swear to me today that he will not put his servant to death with the sword. Adonijah knew what he was doing was wrong, and basically said, your life is over once I become king. At the minimum, you're going to be exiled. Solomon replied, if he shows himself to be worthy, not a hair of his head will fall to the ground. But if evil is found in him, he will die. Then King Solomon sent men, and they brought him down from the altar. And Adonijah came and bowed down to King Solomon. And Solomon said, go to your home. I wonder if that's the cultural equivalent of go to your room. All right. Jeez. It'll be a long stream tonight, because it's a long chapter. Chapter 2, David's charge to Solomon, though I think this is probably pretty important. When the time drew near for David to die, he gave a charge to Solomon, his son. I am about to go the way of all the earth, he said. So be strong, act like a man, and observe what the Lord your God requires. Walk in obedience to him, and keep his decrees and commands, his laws and regulations, as written in the law of Moses. Do this so that you may prosper in all you do and wherever you go, and that the Lord may keep his promise to me. If your descendants watch how they live, and if they walk faithfully before me with all their heart and soul, you will never fail to have a successor on the throne of Israel. Now, you yourself know what Joab, son of Zeruiah, did to me, what he did to the two commanders of Israel's armies, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether. He killed them, shedding their blood in peacetime, as if in battle. And with that blood, he stained the belt around his waist and the sandals on his feet. Deal with him according to your wisdom, but do not let his gray head go down to the grave in peace. Whoa! All right, Neo, take it easy, man. See you later. There you go. This is a very good port. David's charge to Solomon, what David is saying, very similar to what Moses said to the Israelites in his last address, and what we've heard from other righteous men since. Be strong, be a man, do what God asks, do what God requires, be obedient, keep his decrees and commands, his laws and regulations, keep the law, keep the peace. Be who you're supposed to be, the man, be the ideal man, right? Because this is on you. You're the king. This is your charge. That's so important. You know, a favorite movie of mine is Secondhand Lions. And one of the things I love is and you don't ever hear it, but you only hear part of the piece of it, is the speech that the guy gives, the speech that every boy needs to hear about being a man. And to me, if there was something to convey to somebody, to a protege, to a successor, to a child, especially a son, be strong. This is it. Be strong, act like a man. Observe what the Lord your God requires. Walk in obedience to him and keep his decrees and commands, his laws and regulations as written in the law of Moses. Do this so that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you go, and that the Lord may keep his promise to me. And basically, if your descendants do the same, they're going to have that. They're going to have the same fruits. And we don't know this. We haven't heard much of Solomon for now. This isn't Solomon's rise to the throne has not been like David's. David, from a boy, we are very much left in accounts of him. He's a righteous dude from the get-go. He is all the way up to the point where he screws things up with Bathsheba and gets Uriah the Hittite killed. And a little bit, and then later, what we covered at the end with the census, screwing up there. Solomon is awesome. And he's gonna have his big moment. A moment that we could all, and I can't wait to get to it, and it's very soon. A moment that we all wish we could have. And maybe we have them and we don't know, but this is written down. Where Solomon makes a decision and makes a request that brings joy to God. And I think God loves us, and he probably gets oh wow. Okay. So there's a football game going on. The Bills are playing the Bengals, and I had it playing in the background just up here, and I wasn't paying attention to it, but I just got a note. They're doing CPR on one of the players. That's not good. So let's take a moment. Pray for his health. Pray that he is able to make a recovery, that he does not die from this, and that he is not egregiously injured. So, but CPR is not good. As my dad, who was an EMT for many years, said a lot of people don't come back. You do a lot of CPR on corpses. So let's take a few moments to pray for him and anybody else who might be needing it. We've seen it happen live on TV in NASCAR, but yeah. So wow. You're looking at some of the people on the they've pulled away from the game, and they've got the analysis crew, and they're talking to them. They all look shook up. So I don't know what happened, like I said, but hopefully, let's hope he's okay. That's a dangerous game. I won't let my kids play it. I was just talking to them about us not letting them play football tonight. Dang. All right. So, what we were talking about, what Solomon did was, I mean, it's something that we all want. We all want to do. We want to bring joy to God, and to have it just basically there in front of everybody. We all know it. He knows it. Man, it's good. That brings peace of mind. So, one of the other things David talks about is he's basically letting it known that Joab, he's never really trusted Joab for anything more than being. Joab is an animal. Joab is an absolute animal. And, you know, you can only trust them. You can only trust them so much, especially when they're very intelligent, which Joab is. All right. But the last part of that, deal with him according to your wisdom, but do not let his gray head go down to the grave in peace, is basically said, he's not dying of old age. You need to do something. But show kindness to the sons of Barzillai of Gilead, and let them be among those who eat at your table. They stood by me when I fled from your brother Absalom. And remember, you have with you Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, who called down bitter curses on me the day I went to Mahanaim. When he came down to meet me at the Jordan, I swore to him by the Lord, I will not put you to death by the sword. But now, do not consider him innocent. You are a man of wisdom. You will know what to do with him. Bring his gray head down to the grave in blood. Whoa! Woo-hoo! Then David rested with his ancestors. He died. Then David rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. He had reigned 40 years over Israel, 7 years in Hebron, and 33 in Jerusalem. And so Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his rule was firmly established. There you go. Very interesting. Basically, King David is laying out the scene from The Godfather. We got a clean house. I think they're praying on the field right now. The ambulance is driving off. So hopefully they've stabilized things. Anyway, at the end of the show, we'll do a quick look up and see what's going on. So, all right. Woo, that's scary. All right, so that's all setting up. So let's see, what is Solomon going to do? Look, Solomon's famous. How is he famous? Let's see. Solomon's throne established. Now, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, went to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. Bathsheba asked him, "Do you come peacefully?" He answered, "Yes, peacefully." Then he added, "I have something to say to you." "You may say it," she replied. "As you know," he said, "the kingdom is mine." Oh, wow. Bold statement, right? As you know, the kingdom is mine. I was essentially king, right? Just we can admit that I'm the one in charge, right? 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 It was never yours. You were trying to steal it. Anyway, the kingdom was mine. All Israel looked to me as their king, but things changed. And the kingdom has gone to my brother, for it has come to him from the Lord. That's true. Now I have one request to make of you. Do not refuse me. You may make it, she said. So he continued, please ask King Solomon. He will not refuse you to give me Abishag, the Shunammite, as my wife. Okay. Interesting. Odd. Little odd. I mean, maybe he's attracted to her. Maybe they've got a good rapport, but still weird, right? Very well, Bathsheba replied. I will speak to the king for you. When Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him for Adonijah, the king stood up to meet her, bowed down to her, and sat down on his throne. He had a throne brought for the king's mother, and she sat down on his right hand. I have one small request to make of you, she said. Do not refuse me. Yes, exactly. I'll get to that second. The king replied, make it, my mother. I will not refuse you. So she said, let Abishag the Shunammite be given in marriage to your brother Adonijah. The King Solomon answered his mother, why do you request Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? You might as well request the kingdom for him. After all, he is my older brother. Yes, for him and Abiathar. Wait, hold on. Let me go back and rephrase this, the way this is going. Why do you request Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? You might as well request the kingdom for him. After all, he is my older brother. Yes, for him and for Abiathar the priest and Joab, son of Zeruiah. Okay, so he's still a little sore about this, right? Still a little sore about this. Sorry, guys, I'm getting distracted by this. Are they calling the game? Dude, there is 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter, and they are coming off the field. Wow. Um. Mm. So Solomon's still a little raw about this, still not very favorable, and maybe he has a right to be, right? Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, may God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if Adonijah does not pay with his life for this request. Woo, woo. And now, as surely as the Lord lives, he who has established me securely on the throne of my father David and has founded a dynasty for me, as he promised, Adonijah shall be put to death today. So King Solomon gave orders to Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and he struck down Adonijah, and he died. To Abiathar the priest, the king said, go back to your fields and Anathoth. You deserve to die, but I will not put you to death now, because you carried the ark of the sovereign Lord before my father David and shared all my father's hardships. So Solomon removed Abiathar from the priesthood of the Lord, fulfilling the word the Lord had spoken at Shiloh about the house of Eli. Ooh! Forgot about that little tidbit, right? When the news reached Joab, who had conspired with Adonijah, though not with Absalom, he fled to the tent of the Lord and took hold of the horns of the altar. Here we go. King Solomon was told that Joab had fled to the tent of the Lord and was beside the altar. Then Solomon ordered Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, go strike him down. So Benaiah entered the tent of the Lord and said to Joab, the king says, come out. But he answered, no, I will die here. Benaiah reported to the king, this is how Joab answered me. Then the king commanded Benaiah, do as he says, strike him down and bury him, and so clear me and my whole family of the guilt of the innocent blood that Joab shed. So the Lord will repay him for the blood he shed, because without my father David knowing it, he attacked 2 men and killed them with the sword. Both of them, Abner, son of Ner, commander of Israel's army, and Amasa, son of Jether, commander of Judah's army, were better men and more upright than he. May the guilt of their blood rest on the head of Joab and his descendants forever. But on David and his descendants, his house and his throne, may there be the Lord's peace forever. So Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, went up and struck down Joab and killed him, and he was buried at his home out in the country. The king put Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, over the army in Joab's position and replaced Abiathar with Zadok the priest. Then the king sent for Shimei and said to him, build yourself a house in Jerusalem and live there, but do not go anywhere else. The day you leave and cross the Kidron Valley, you can be sure you will die. Your blood will be on your own head. Shimei answered the king, what you say is good. Your servant will do as my lord the king has said. And Shimei stayed in Jerusalem for a long time. But 3 years later, 2 of Shimei's slaves ran off to Achish, son of Maacah, the king of Gath. And Shimei was told, your slaves are in Gath. At this, he saddled his donkey and went to Achish at Gath in search of his slaves. So Shimei went away and brought the slaves back from Gath. When Solomon was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, he had returned. The king summoned Shimei and said to him, Shimei, did I not make you swear by the Lord and warn you on the day you leave to go anywhere else? You can be sure you will die. At that time you said to me, what you say is good, I will obey. Why then did you not keep your oath to the Lord and obey the command I gave you? The king also said to Shimei, you know in your heart all the wrong you did to my father David. Now the Lord will repay you for your wrongdoing. King Solomon will be blessed, and David's throne will remain secure before the Lord forever. Then the king gave the order to Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and he went out and struck Shimei down, and he died. The kingdom was now established in Solomon's hand. So the answer here is, or the question here is, why was the request for the hot nurse, as Nernath puts it? I want the hot nurse, my kingdom for a hot nurse. Why was that such a request? They didn't have relations. They weren't married. As far as David and her, they weren't married. Is it odd that the last part of her name is Shag? What was the true issue between Adonijah and Solomon over Abishag? So this is from gotquestions.org. This is someplace. In David's old age, developed circulatory problems, blah, blah, blah. We know. Adonijah's request seems innocuous enough, but is full of subterfuge. Solomon's initial response was one of indignation. He said to his mother, "Why do you request her? You might as well request the kingdom." Solomon rightly saw Adonijah's desire to marry Abishag as part of his brother's ongoing attempt to take over the kingdom of Israel. In those days of royal harems, taking possession of a king's concubine was a declaration of one's right to the throne. This had been one of Absalom's methods when he led a coup against David, which we did. We covered that. Since Abishag was considered part of David's harem, her marriage to Adonijah would have strengthened the usurper's claim to the throne. In judgment for Adonijah's request, Solomon said, God do so to me and more if this word does not cost Adonijah and his life. Adonijah's followers had fled, leaving him in a situation where he could have been killed for his rebellion. King Solomon mercifully granted Adonijah his life on the condition that he pay homage to the king and give up his claim to the throne. Yes, and I thought that the part where he says, look, when he tells, look, the kingdom was mine. We know that there's still something that's not quite settled here, right? Still something that's off. So that's what so there's a cultural thing with that kind of explains what's going on with Adonijah and why he has to die for it. Shimei, look, very similar. Yeah. Reminds me of, in the day you eat the fruit, you will surely die. Look, he didn't have to go out and do it. He could have sent somebody. He could have even asked the King Solomon, hey, lost two slaves. You've told me I can't leave to go get them. Can you help me out? You know, he doesn't. He just does what he wants. Got questions, spitting facts. Thanks for the cultural context. Yeah, I think that's important here. There's something we all thought it was weird that he was making the request. Don't know. But that's where we end up. Joab's been killed. He tries to hang on to the altar to get to, or the Ark of the Covenant to avoid being punished. He is anyway, doesn't matter. Joab finally gets what's coming to him that should have come a long time ago. But he served a role. He served a key importance. And so I think that's probably why he was allowed to live. And maybe there was some discussion, something that's not discussed here, where David was told by God, you got to keep him, told by God, look, you got to keep this guy around for you, for your reign. So let's see what's going on. With that said, let's find out what's going on. right, checking Twitter right now. The game's temporarily suspended. I don't know for how long. Getting a police escort to the hospital. A lot of prayers for Hamlin. All right. So one report says Damar Hamlin, he's the guy in question, has a pulse but is not breathing on his own. Tom Brenneman, I saw him on thing. He was talking about the Bengals game. This might be the biggest biggest game to be played in the stadium. And man, this isn't something to be noted for here. This was earlier this afternoon. He was doing a talking about just the implications behind the game. Oh wow! So he gets hit. The hit doesn't look all that bad. Looks like he might have taken. So he's making it. He's a defender. He takes the tack. He gets the tackle. Let me pull this down. He's wrapping up, and the guy kind of comes up and hits him like right here. And he gets up, and then all of a sudden he's woozy, and then he just falls down. It's not a bad looking hit. Wow. That's there was a player for the Raiders a few years ago, DJ Hayden. His heart stopped on the field when he was in high school or college. I think it was college. And they brought him back, and he ended up playing in the NFL. Ended up being kind of a bust, but like he makes the tackle, he gets up, like he finishes the tackle, and then he's just wow. All right, let's reload, see if anything's news. Prayer's powerful. It is. Whatever God's plan is for him, though, or more powerful, but hopefully that involves a long and healthy life. Let's see. News. Yeah. Hamlin's 24 years old, second year safety out of Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. Ugh. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I know that's a little off topic for us while we were talking about something pretty important here. But it's always that's things like this. Like I said, it's happened in NASCAR. I didn't see it. I was a big Dale Earnhardt fan back in the day. I was in high school at the time, actually, when he died at Daytona, and I was actually working and he got in an accident. I remember I was leaving work. They said he had gotten in an accident. It was just wrapping up, and I was like, "Well, crap." I was like, "Well, I guess he didn't finish." So when I got home, my mom said, "Dude, Dale Earnhardt's dead," and it's like, what? It was wild. And that stuff happens, but when that was over 20 years ago now. And there's been times like, especially like I said, racing's been a big one. Lots of death in racing. Football, we haven't really seen that. Usually you hear about it happening in a high school, it's somebody in practice because they had an underlying heart condition or the thing. It's amazing. And the weird thing is, like, look, we talk about how dangerous football is and head injuries and everything. That injury could have happened in any sport. That's a injury where you could have gotten caught just because of player collisions. It's wild. It's wild because that could be my son playing soccer, and you get hit because two kids aren't watching where they're going. They're both looking down at the ball, or basketball. You know, hockey, right? We see some ugly. Look, I'm a fan of Nick Cronwall. Is one of my favorite defenders. He could lay people out, and some of the hits he has left on people have been ugly. So, all right. Well, that's where we're at now. So we don't know. We don't know the outcome for him. Hopefully, we've got something good. Hopefully, we've got good news to report next week, tomorrow night, for tomorrow night's broadcast. But right now, a lot of tears, a lot of anguish on the field, a lot of people in shock. So, we just want people to be okay. We want people to live nice, long, healthy lives. We don't need, or we don't want strife. Sometimes strife happens to us. Some of you guys may be going through some sort of struggle, obstacle, tragedy, loss, some sort of depression, loneliness. That might be happening for you guys. That was me a long time ago when I was in my teenager to mid-20s. I was a lonely human being. I was very much alone. I only had a couple of friends. Didn't feel like anybody liked me. Things got better when I joined the Army. But at the same time, I still ended up feeling alone. Just wasn't in a good place for a lot of aspects. That changed one day. Me and my wife started dating. And it's been, there's been ups and downs. So no, Sandy, I can't share the clip. If you go on Twitter, it's on there. And I'm sure that you can find it if you go online and look for it. But I know if I share it, I'm gonna get nailed with some sort of copyright issue. Welcome to the program, by the way. Awful. But we go through these things. Life is a lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, good times and bad. And here we go. And of course, speaking of bad times, we've got the porn bots. But like I said, the clip is, yeah, the clip is, it doesn't look bad. It's a routine tackle. That maybe he gets a little banged up on the chin. Maybe he takes it on the chin. It is weird, right? It is weird. So, but life's like that. And look, where my life is at, and as long as I feel like I've been blessed, and I've had some things, especially this past year, dealt with some hurt, right? And it hasn't been, me and my wife being married throughout our marriage, there have been times where I've been in low points when I got fired from my job. And it was the first time that I'd been unemployed since, maybe I was a teenager. There's been times where I thought my life was never going to get better. But one of the things I always refused to do was give up. And that's the same thing you guys should, because God puts you down here, not for you to check out on your own, but to check out on his terms, right? And you don't know that the moment you check out might have been, ah, anyway, you don't know that the time you decide you want to check out and you do check out might have been the time where things start to, the good times might have been just around the corner if you'd have just stuck around. You're loved, you're wanted. And most of the time, people who are depressed, most of the time when people are dealing with that stuff, it's just you just don't see how many people care about you. When I was at my lowest points, I still had my parents. And I can't convey, I try to tell this to my kids because I never want them to feel like nobody wants them. I will always want you. And if I want you, God wants you to. We want you to have a healthy relationship with us, have a healthy relationship with God, be doing the right things. Did you screw up? Did you make a mistake? Did you do something egregious? Yes, probably. I have. I've done things. Doesn't mean you're irredeemable. We have a cross that's our entire the entire symbol of our religion that represents the redemption for everybody. Not just the popular people, not just those who got their act together, not just the people you see on Facebook. Did you think everything's going right for them? It usually isn't. It's for everybody. No. You choose whether you want to be part of that salvation or not. Thank you for sharing. So many people feel lonely and like nobody wants them here. It's important to know that you're not alone. As Peter wrote, the community of believers around the globe is going through what we are too. Yeah. And there's nothing new under the sun. And I think that's why the important thing is to look at Job. Job gets worked. Job gets worked. He gets worked over. And some people may have had things worse than Job. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if you come through this, if you make it through worse than going through worse than I've had to put up with, and I've been able to endure, you're better than me. You're a better man than me. You've endured more, where I don't feel like I've endured it as much. Anyway. All right. Well, we've had a couple of new folks pop in, most notably Parachin. Welcome to the show. Big contributor too. I love it. I love it. Please continue to come in here and bring this great energy and commentary with you, man. I like it. Look, the what I say, I don't know if you're a long time listener or whatever, if you're new or if you're new, but if you're new, I love the chat. Love the chat. It's part of the show. Oh, okay. Came from Blaine's Escape Corner. Oh yeah, Blaine's great. Haven't seen him in a while. I think the last time we actually were was when I was on the show last. But I love the chat. Love the con. You guys help make the show better. Questions, comments, information. We've got two kind of ends of the spectrum. We got near Nath, who's a more who probably is smarter in the Bible than I am, and then you have Nico, who is a novice. He's not here tonight, but he's reading all this stuff for the first time, and so we're getting like the initial reaction. We're getting like true reactions from him, and I love it. But everybody in between, it's all great. So to Perichin, Nerneev, Sandy, Neo, who had to leave. My wife talking to me about cheesesteaks. Dresden, Alias, all you guys. And to the gentleman for the Bills. Let's do one last check. See if I can get one last check on him. Okay, so the last report is he's not breathing on his own. The last report was he had a pulse but not breathing on his own. So maybe they have him under some. They had to use an AED on him. So, to you guys, to that gentleman, and to everybody else out there listening, not listening, whatever. I'm pretty sure I'll be streaming tomorrow night. There is something that might keep me away, but I don't think it will. I think I'm going to let it go till tomorrow or till Wednesday, but we'll see how that goes. But if you don't, I've got a locals. Just go to the locals. If you join the locals, that'll send you to the Discord, and the Discord will give you better updates than just listening. Otherwise, guys, like and subscribe, share if you like it, hit the notification bell, do all the cool stuff that I'm supposed to do. If I sold this show better than I actually do. But either way, guys, you all have a great evening and God bless.